It is 11 a.m. here in London. It's 1 p.m. in Mogadishu. I'm Monita Rajpal. This is World One. Britain are trying to guess where next after rioters rampaged through some of the country's biggest cities. A massive security presence in London meant it was a relatively quiet night in the capital on Tuesday. The worst of last night's trouble broke out in the centre of Manchester, forcing police to respond to attacks and looting. Shops in the main commercial district were robbed. Some were set ablaze. Riots also broke out in cities in the Midlands, including Wolverhampton, Birmingham and Nottingham, where a crowd of men firebombed a police station. Whether you could call them concerned citizens or vigilantes, the presence of so many people on the streets to defend their property caused fresh issues for the police. Some local people said they felt they were being treated like rioters.
We're out here looking after our town, like any other. Manchester's doing the same. We're all trying to do it, and the police are more interested in pushing.
Police in London have responded to the violence by arresting 770 people. As for the government, Prime Minister David Cameron is meeting his crisis response committee for the second time in 2 days. CNN's Phil Black is at Downing Street, where those meetings are currently underway. He joins us now. And Phil, we expect the Prime Minister to address the media any moment now.
Yeah, indeed, Monita, any moment. So if I have to duck out of the way, I will do so. But you're right in saying the Prime Minister has been meeting here in 10 Downing Street this morning with senior ministers and police commanders.
Thank you very much. Nobody, well, seems able to agree on just what's motivating people to riot, and there are questions over whether the police and the politicians are taking the right approach. Gavin Knight is a journalist and the author of Hood Rat, and he's been embedded with frontline police in London, Manchester and Glasgow. He joins us now. You've seen it from both sides. What are the police up against?
Well, I mean, I've been with the frontline police units in the inner cities, and a lot of them, these inner cities are like war zones. And, if you grow up in a war zone, you become a warrior.
The interesting thing about Hood Rat in your book is that, you see, it's very easy for us to sit back and to perhaps judge, sometimes rightfully or wrongfully judge those who are involved in the looting. You call it a riot, but then riot would also entail that there is a cause behind it. But the looting, often that's something different. But these are real stories as well. These are real kids with some very difficult backgrounds.
Yes, I mean, meeting these kids as a father, I felt quite strange, because on one level, there's a 14-year-old I met in Southall. Sir
David Cameron addressing reporters there, the second day of Cobra meetings that he's had with his people in cabinet as well to discuss the ongoing violence in the country. He did say the continued violence will be stopped. He says he will not allow a culture of fear to exist on the streets, and whatever resources and tactics police need, they will get and will have the legal backing. CNN's Phil Black is at Downing Street. He joins us now. And Phil, we again heard more strong words and more strong statements from the Prime Minister.
Yeah, indeed, Monita. You heard Prime Minister Cameron there stressing his belief that a more robust policing strategy.
This is World One. Washington is steering closer to demanding Syria's President Bashar al-Assad step down from power. Government sources in the U.S. told CNN a statement is expected in the next couple of days following talks with the United Nations Security Council. But a U.S. official says the State Department, which deals with foreign affairs, has concerns about what will happen if President Assad refuses to go. CNN has not been allowed to return to Syria to report directly on recent events. CNN's Arwa Damon is monitoring the latest developments from Lebanon. She joins us now from Beirut. And Arwa, I'm wondering what difference, if any, a statement from the UN or from the US will make in Syria.
Well, all indications are, Monita, that it probably won't make a lot of difference when it comes to
Beirut. Thank you very much. What a difference a day makes. Stock markets in Europe and Asia are bouncing back after a strong rally in the U.S. Tuesday. It followed a promise by the Federal Reserve to help nurse the U.S. economy back to health. Chairman Ben Bernanke says he expects to keep official interest rates ultra low for at least another 2 years. Shares are recouping some of the heavy losses they made in the past few days. We want to bring in CNN's Nina DeSantis in London and Andrew Stevens in Hong Kong. Nina, let's begin with you. How are they looking this morning?
They're looking pretty good, Monita. We did flirt with some declines earlier on in the trading session about 2 hours ago. I'll come back to the reason why we saw that. But for the moment, as you can see...
Let's then head over to Andrew Stevens in Hong Kong. Andrew, what have you been seeing?
Just picking up on what Nina was saying there, obviously interest rates low for the next 2 years or so. Monita does suggest that Ben Bernanke sees the US economy remaining pretty weak, and that obviously is going to hurt the exporters, countries like the big exporters here in Asia. Having said that, though, yes, we saw a rebound, not surprising given there was a strong performance on Wall Street overnight.
Andrew Stevens in Hong Kong and Nina DeSantis here in London. Thank you both so much. You are watching World One live from London. To our top story, police have been responding to outbreaks of violence in the northwest of England. Shops were looted and buildings, including a library, set on fire in Manchester. There was also violence in the nearby city of Salford in central England. Shops were broken into in Wolverhampton and cars set alight in West Bromwich. Now, in Nottingham, officials received reports of 1,000 separate incidents and a police station was torched. London, though, was calmer Tuesday than in previous nights, but riot police have been out on the streets in Canning Town, which is in East London. Locals are today trying to clean up and ward off fresh attacks. Hundreds of businesses have been damaged. Vandals set fire to shops, buildings and cars. CNN's Atika Schubert has been following the unrest, and she joins us now with more. Now, there seems to be this community spirit that has arisen out of all of that's happened over the past few days.
There does seem to be. Definitely, we've seen cleanup crews. When I was in Ealing, West London yesterday, there were cleanup crews there, and it's all being organized on social media.
On Edge, Atika Schubert here in London. Thank you so much. Well, we've been seeing some pretty shocking images during the riots these past few days, but this one could very well be one of the worst. This next video that we're going to show you was apparently shot in the London borough of Hackney. It's in East London. It shows a group of young people helping an injured man who then steal from his backpack. At first, it appears innocent enough, but take a look at what happens next.
He just took something from his bag.
Unbelievable. This is something I believe that the Prime Minister David Cameron had mentioned as well when he addressed reporters today. Now, these riots are having a devastating effect on community businesses. To give you a better idea, we want to show you some before and after composite photos. This is the landmark Carpetright building in Tottenham. The left side of the image is from Google Maps showing the building before the riots. The right side is a Getty photo from Sunday, after the building was set on fire. Well, there has been reaction to the story from around the world. We want to see what the newspapers are saying. In Australia, the Australian has the headline, "Less political rebellion, more mollycoddled mob." The opinion piece goes on to say the political context is not the cuts or racist policing, it is the welfare state, which has nurtured a generation that has no sense of community spirit or social solidarity. What we have on the streets of London and elsewhere are welfare state mobs. In the United Arab Emirates, Gulf News draws very different conclusions in an article under the headline, "London Riots, Symptoms of a Deeper Malaise." It says these riots can only come from people who feel that society has failed them, and the grim effects of the recession are biting deep into the structure of society. The community leaders have a larger duty to calm their angry populations, but whatever strategy they come up with, burning England's cities is not the answer. And next, an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal under the headline, "London is burning." The article says it is hooliganism, pure and simple. If it serves as a wake-up call, it should be to the fact that the veneer of civilization can be terrifyingly thin. And finally, here in the UK, an opinion piece in the Independent newspaper. The headline is, "Looting opportunists and hyper-youths do not a revolution make." It says revolutions are not born of hooliganism. These young people are not an organized movement with clear aims. They have no obvious leader, no head office, no command structure, and no hierarchy. Far from storming Britain's Bastille, they are thieving trainers and LCD screens to flog on eBay. One issue, many views. You can read all those articles in full at facebook.com/W1CNN. Somalia's transitional government has offered a general amnesty to insurgents in Mogadishu if they surrender and renounce violence. Now, the offer comes just days after al-Shabaab militants retreated from the capital, making it easier to get aid to people living there. The steady trickle of aid to the famine-hit region is now flowing much faster. On Tuesday, the World Food Programme began airlifting emergency aid to Mombasa in Kenya. Much of it is earmarked for the thousands of children suffering from severe malnutrition. CNN's David McKenzie is at the Dadaab refugee camp in Kenya, where he joins us now live with more on that. David. Violence in cities across England has already caused sports ruling bodies to call off various events this week. But what about the start of the all-important Premier League season? Pedro Pinto joins us now with the details on that.
Hey, Monita, you know, the new season is scheduled to start this weekend. On Saturday, there's 7 matches on the slate, with 3 more scheduled for Sunday. With the chaos continuing throughout the country, Premier League officials will meet on Thursday to decide whether the opening round of matches will be postponed. The riots have stretched police.
Well, I was saying maybe this was just a warm-up. Maybe he's, psychologically, mentally just focusing on the U.S. Open. Maybe, but it's tough when you have so many other top players to start the warm-up for the U.S. Open with a disappointing defeat. I was just trying to be devil's advocate. Yeah. I was just trying to defend him a little bit. Positive spin on it. Glass half full. Give him a call. All righty. Thanks, Pedro. You're watching World 1 live from London. This is World 1 live from London. We are approaching almost 7 a.m. in New York, almost 1 p.m. in Berlin, and 8 p.m. in Tokyo. It's a honeymoon that went horribly wrong. The wife dead, the husband accused. Today, Shreen Dewani will find out if he'll be extradited from the UK to South Africa to stand trial for murder. Dewani is accused of conspiring with a taxi driver to kill his wife while the couple were honeymooning in Cape Town. But he denies any involvement and says his wife was the victim of a carjacking. CNN's Nkapile Mabuse joins us now live from Johannesburg in South Africa. And Nkapile, the South African government, so I should say the South African courts are the ones that are pushing for him to be extradited to see his day in court there. Nkapile Mabuse in Johannesburg, thank you so much. We thank you also for joining us. I'm Monita Rajpal. Do stay with CNN, the world's news leader.